One of Brooklyn's residential neighborhoods. A boy is running together with his friend. Two guys are waiting for them with a gun near the dumpsters. They head toward the court where several young men are playing basketball. The boy suggests that the youngest of them should kill one of the gang members. He comes closer with the gun and starts shooting. Fortunately, no one is hurt. Everyone scatters, including those who were on his side. The boy sees this, throws away the weapon, and runs off. But the young delinquent, as if nothing had happened, returns home. He takes a can of soda, turns on the television, and goes to feed the pigeons that sit in a homemade cage in his room. Later, this boy would have numerous encounters with the police, drinking in public, hooliganism, fights, assaults, thefts, and robberies. In the end, he was sentenced to serve time in a juvenile correctional facility in New York. Several years later, two young trainers, Teddy and Kevin, asked their older colleague, a man who had trained more than one boxing champion, to take a look at the boy who was recently brought to them. He already had 40 arrests on record. The trainer is shocked. Even Al Capone was never arrested that many times. Yet, he agrees to see the boy, abandoned even by his own mother. He sees a strong 14-year-old teenager with an incredibly powerful punch, but lacking technique and style. Kevin says that the boy came to them skinny and bony. Then, jokingly, he asks the sparring trainer what he had been feeding him. The man answers, as always, cola and steroids. The older trainer, Castamato, asks the boy's name. Mike, he replies. Full name? The trainer clarifies.
Mike Tyson.
And so, Mike goes home with him. From now on, he will live there. At the house, Cass introduces Mike to Camille, the lady of the house. She is not very pleased with the new tenant. One more mouth to feed. But she has no choice. Besides, Cass points out that the $200 provided for Mike's support will not hurt. He shows Mike his room and explains the rules. The main one? Cleanliness. Cass finds an empty ice cream container, gets angry and yells, asking who ate it, and then warns Mike, never touch his ice cream. A new routine begins for Mike, waking up at 4 in the morning, running and training. The trainer sets his mind only on victories, with motivational words, parables, and stories about great fighters. Among them, Muhammad Ali. Young Mike studies every movement with passion. His eyes burn with desire as he and his coach analyze the fights of Rocky Marciano. Cass explains that the most important thing is not only strength, but also mindset. Rocky never knew what defeat was. The very concept of losing did not exist in his head. Cass spends all his time with Mike, planting in him the purpose of his entire life, to become a champion. In training, the young boxer perfects his technique. Cass shows him how to move correctly. Speed is crucial, as well as tactics. Never standing still, always being in motion, deceiving the opponent with maneuvers. Alongside training goes Mike's everyday life. He celebrates his birthday with his new family, and even once secretly eats Kaz's ice cream, but does not get caught. Soon Mike learns of his mother's death. He goes to Brooklyn for the funeral, visits his pigeons, and takes them with him back to Kaz's house. To support the boy, Kaz tells him, a professional is the one who steps into the ring no matter what he feels. He then gives him a pendant once gifted to Kaz by Muhammad Ali, telling Mike to take it with him to the Youth Olympics. The boy's eyes light up. 1982, Colorado, the Youth Olympics. These are Mike's first competitions. He is very nervous and thinks he will not manage. But thanks to Teddy Atlas's support, he steps into the ring and in just 8 seconds knocks out his opponent. It is a victory. Teddy brings the news to Kaz. 8 rounds? But in youth boxing there are only 3, Kaz exclaims. Not rounds, 8 seconds, Teddy corrects him. Cass, delighted, asks, what did he do to the opponent? Shoot him? Bounty hunters eager to take the young prodigy under their wing begin to circle around Mike. Cass orders Teddy not to let anyone approach him and to bring him home at all costs. Once there, he tells Camille, since Mike no longer has a mother, they should adopt him. Upon returning, Mike boasts of his victory. Cass jokes, 8 seconds? What took you so long? And then admits that he is proud of him. He speaks about adoption. Mike agrees and Camille supports the decision. Mike even asks to call her mom, and she is delighted. One day, while sitting on the stairs, Mike sees Jimmy Jacobs and Bill Caton, managers whom Kaz trusts, coming to visit. Kaz predicts for Mike a heavyweight championship and a place in the Hall of Fame alongside Rocky Marciano. Camille notices him and invites him to come and meet them. Cass introduces them as the most honest men in this crooked business. Later, Mike rides in a car with his friend Rory Holloway. They dream of his future championship. On the way, they see 2 girls, and Mike decides to approach them, but the girls run away. Mistakenly thinking they entered a store, Mike goes inside, but the saleswoman calls the police. Enraged, he smashes a showcase. His friend pulls him out. Sirens are heard, but they manage to escape. Mike once again skips training, and this is not the first time. Teddy complains. Whenever Mike makes a mistake, he disappears for 3 or 4 days. It is becoming a habit. But Cass remains calm. He was convinced. Mike needed the right environment to achieve future greatness. Teddy complained that Mike was sleeping with every woman in the neighborhood. Yesterday it was a classmate. A week ago, a teacher. One day, however, Teddy's 11-year-old sister came to him, and he learned that Mike had behaved inappropriately with her. Furious, Teddy threatened him. When Mike returned home, Teddy confronted him, pressing a gun to his cheek and accusing him of harassing his younger sister, Jamie. In his defense, Mike said that she had been the one showing interest in him. He claimed he was not afraid. Teddy then fired a shot into a tree at the level of Mike's head. After this incident, Cass expelled Teddy from his training camp. Mike mockingly blew him a kiss. Cass had to find a new trainer, and it was Kevin Rooney, a man who resembled Agent Coulson. Under his guidance, Mike kept winning, knocking out opponent after opponent. Newspapers began writing about him. Thus began Mike Tyson's world tour. His fame grew exponentially. But during one of the fights, Cass fell ill and was rushed to the hospital. Mike visited him and begged him not to die, saying he could not live without him because Cass had always been there for him. The coach gave him advice. You must fight. And if you ever stumble, I will come back from the other side and kick your ass. Mike cried and pressed against his mentor's chest. After Cass's death, Mike released his pigeons into the sky. With tears in his eyes, he admitted to Jimmy that he missed his mentor dearly and still did not understand what Cass had seen in him or why he had loved him. Jimmy answered, "For your courage and your enormous fists." He comforted Tyson by telling him that now Mike had him. They embraced tightly. Las Vegas, 1986. The fight between Tyson and Berbick, the decisive bout to determine who would become the heavyweight champion of the world. Mike entered the ring with particular fury. He wanted revenge on Berbick for fighting so harshly against Muhammad Ali in his farewell match when the legend was already gravely ill. That evening would be called Judgment Day. Mike became the youngest champion in the heavyweight category, only 20 years old. A new era of boxing had begun. Together with Kevin, he watched the fight of his next opponent on television. The trainer explained the tactics, but Mike, irritated, changed the channel. Kevin tries to grab the remote but gets punched in the jaw by Mike. He loses his temper and storms off, while Mike stays and watches TV, where everyone is talking about the glamorous socialite and model Robin Givens. Soon Jimmy arrived and started a conversation. Mike shared that he wanted to fall in love, to start a family and have children, just like Jimmy. He spoke about the girl he had seen on television. Jimmy laughed. Mike decided to call Robin. He rehearsed what he would say, but when he heard a woman's voice, he hung up. He dialed again, and this time, gathering his courage, he finally spoke to the beauty. Robin was surprised by the call, but by then she had already heard much about Mike. He invited her to meet. She came to his fight against Tucker in Las Vegas, but during the match, Mike took too many punches and, instead of listening to his coach in the corner, kept looking at Robin. Kevin tried to motivate him, reminding him, "That beauty does not care what your name is. If you do not win, she will leave tonight with another man. Because for her, the only thing that matters is being with the champion." These words fired Mike up, and he returned to the ring with fury, earning a decisive victory. After the fight, Mike and Robin ride in a limousine. Mike calls her his queen. "One night?" Robin asks with a smile. "For life," he replies. Soon after, Mike calls Camille and tells her that he and Robin have gotten married and that she is already 3 months pregnant. Camille is so overwhelmed that she cannot find the words. Manager Bill takes the phone and delivers tragic news. Jimmy Jacobs has died of leukemia. The funeral will take place in California, and they need to leave immediately. At the airport, Mike, Kevin, Bill, and Jimmy's wife, Lauren, are waiting for their limousine. But for some reason, it never comes. Frustrated, Bill tells the widow that Robin, right after Jimmy's death, came to the office and announced that from now on, she would be in charge of all financial matters. At that moment, a limousine arrives, but it is for Don King. The cunning promoter had long dreamed of signing Tyson. He points out that when he worked with Muhammad Ali, he never had to wait for a car. He invites Mike into his limousine, and Mike agrees. Bill realizes that it was Don who orchestrated the delay of their car. For sharks of the boxing business, a few minutes are enough to gain trust and sow doubt. On the ride, King questions Mike about his trust in Bill and about his manager's share. Learning that Bill receives 30%, he offers Mike 5 easy fights worth $5 million each. Mike replies that he will think about it. At the funeral, Bill asks what exactly Don promised him. Mike tells him about the offer, but lies, claiming he rejected it immediately. Overwhelmed with emotion, he leaves the ceremony in tears. Kevin approaches him and asks how he feels. Mike admits that, with money coming into his life, those he trusted are leaving. Things were different before. Kevin asks if he trusts Bill and Robin. Mike hesitates, especially regarding his wife, despite being madly in love with her. Love and trust are not the same thing, he says. Meanwhile, Mike's new fights and performances begin. Robin interferes more and more in his financial affairs, gradually pushing Bill aside. Don King fuels the conflict, telling the press that the relationship between Mike and Bill is like that of a black boxer and a white master. King constantly manipulates this theme, and even Tyson himself begins to repeat the lines fed to him. Blacks should only work with blacks. Arguments break out over Mike's contracts, earnings, and commissions. Don King shows his two-faced nature, smiling sweetly at Robin, encouraging her to clash with Bill, while behind her back calling her a ruthless snake who manipulates Mike, pretending to be pregnant, and even confusing the dates of her supposed pregnancy. In the end, after a series of manipulations, Don King becomes Tyson's manager. One evening, a distraught Mike returns home and learns that Robin has suffered a miscarriage. The next day, he arrives late to training. Kevin scolds him for being late, but Mike silences him with a cold stare. Clearly, he is depressed and unable to focus. Kevin insists that he engage in training, but Mike refuses and steps down from the ring. Mike's friend explains about the miscarriage and how difficult things are for him. Then Kevin, in front of everyone, declares that they are all spineless cowards, too afraid to tell Mike the truth, that Robin deceived him with the pregnancy. These words send Mike into a rage. He begins brutally beating his sparring partner. Then he demands the next opponent. He gives him a 10-second head start, then storms at him. The third sparring partner hastily leaves the gym. Atlantic City, 1988. The fight between Tyson and Spinks. A lawyer hands Bill an envelope with documents, from which he learns that he has been fired. Mike enters the ring with a record of 34 wins, 30 of them by knockout. It is his 7th title defense. Kevin reminds him that he must fight for Coos and Jimmy. It is the most significant event of the year, 2 undefeated champions facing each other in the ring. Ticket prices reached up to $1,500. Among the spectators were Chuck Norris, Jack Nicholson, Sylvester Stallone, and many other celebrities. Tyson wins the fight by knockout. The arena erupts. Everyone rushes to him. At his mansion, Mike and Robin give a joint interview. Suddenly, Robin declares that Mike suffers from manic depressive psychosis and that life with him is unbearable. She adds that now she understands women who are humiliated and abused. According to her, if Mike does not receive help, things will only get worse. During the broadcast, Don King and Mike's friend are stunned. Robin is publicly dragging her husband's name through the mud. After this interview, Mike throws Robin and her mother out of the house. Before leaving, they call the police, but he throws them out as well, shouting threats at his ex-wife. Robin files for divorce, accompanying the process with interviews in which she claims that Mike beat her and threatened her. She insists that he struck her in such a way that no marks would remain. Tyson spends more and more time in clubs and in the public eye. One evening, outside a club, he is provoked by Mitch Green, a boxer whom he once defeated by decision. Green declares that the victory was undeserved and goes further by insulting Mike's ex-wife. Tyson loses his temper, lands a powerful punch, and drives away. Soon he is scheduled for a fight in Tokyo against Buster Douglas. Mike arrives in Japan with a new team. At Don King's insistence, he has dismissed all the trainers who helped him achieve success, including Kevin Rooney. In the 8th round, Tyson knocks Douglas down, but the referee makes an error. The count stretches to 12 seconds instead of the standard 10. Douglas manages to get back on his feet. King is outraged, claiming he has never seen such a long count. In the 10th round, a sensation occurs. For the first time in his career, Mike Tyson suffers a knockout defeat. In the locker room, Don King makes a phone call, trying to prove that the fight should have ended in the 8th round, that the count lasted 15 seconds, and that he intends to pursue justice in court. Mike returns home, drinks tea with Camille, and laughs while looking at an ice cream container, remembering how Kaz once told him never to touch his ice cream. Later, in Indianapolis, Mike arrives at the rehearsal for the Miss Black America pageant. The young women are delighted to see the celebrity guest. He poses for photos with the models and meets Desiree Washington. That evening, he invites her to a party, and she agrees. But instead of a glamorous event with stars and press, Mike takes her to his hotel room. A few days later, he is arrested on charges of rape. The court sentences the former champion to 6 years in prison. That was my recap of the movie Tyson, 1995. Bye for now.